Likutei Torah, Tzav, page Tezayin. I think we'll start this mimer. Let's see. Okay, the other mimer Sheshis Yomim we learned a bunch of times. Did we learn the mimer on page 22 at the bottom?
Yes.
We did.
21, 22. You gotta go that way, Rabbi.
That way. Okay. It says, in Hallel we say, from Tilim, Mayom Rav Ayonis, the sea saw and ran away. Hadim Raktu Cha'elim, the mountains danced like rams. Hine Tzarech Lahavin Lame Hadim Raktu Vayom Rav Ayonis. Why did the mountains dance? And why did the sea see it? It has, what did the sea see that made the sea run away? Shalom is sagt das Psachim Shaloi Pirish Shilamid Va Pirish Kanisa. What does it mean running away? That's the Aveda of Yira. And Rikud, dancing, is Aveda of Ava. Simcha. In other words, over here it says two things. There was Ra Vayonis, you ran away, means that's all. Something you fear, you run away from. Something you love, you want to get closer to. So dancing is a level of Ava, and Ra Vayonis, ran away, is a level of Yira. Who Sar Bechinas Eved, that's the two levels of Sar and Eved. Eved is Bittul, Sar is close to the Melech. Hine Bizgalas HaMelech, when the king reveals himself as a Bechinas Sar, when his Aveda is Simcha. So therefore, when the king is closer to him, the king reveals himself, he's obviously more Besimcha, because the king's closer to him. Which are Midas of Atzilus. The mountains, which are the level of the Midas of Atzilus, Shemisham Sherish and Nishamis, are called Achim Lemokim. They are called brothers to Hashem. But Shemokim, Lemokim Kesar, the Fnei HaMelech is like the level of a Sar in the presence of the king. Therefore, the Rokdu, they danced. In other words, Hadam represents the Nishamas Yisrael, because the mountains are the Shisha Midas of Atzilus. So therefore, that's the level the Yidden are called Achim LaKodesh Baruch Hu, so that's the level of Midas, brother and sister. And therefore, the Rokdu, they dance. But Eved, Shavedas B'Yira. But an Eved, who's Aved, is the level of Yira, which is Yam Rav Ayonis, as I Bezgalas HaMelech, when the king reveals himself. You forget, you get more awe. A side of Aved is Simcha, in connection, Ava. So the more the king reveals, the more he's happier. Forget, he gets closer. The Yam, which is the Aved of Eved and Bittul, so the more the king reveals himself, he runs away. V'zeh hayom, shemisam sheirish bechinas ke'eved l'fnei HaMelech, which is the Aved of an Eved, Rav Ayonis, he ran away. In other words, like this, a Yidden need to have Ava and Yira. We are at the level of Banim Atem L'Hashem Elokechem, and we are at the level Kli B'nei Yisrael Avodim. So you need both levels. You need the level of Ava, you need the level of Yira. Therefore, by Kriyas Yamsuf, Hayom Rav Ayonis, there's a level of Bittul, and the Hadim Raktu Cha'elim, that's the level of Simcha, of Ava. Okay, skip the parentheses, 3 lines in the end of the page. Love in Zabetesis Biur, to understand this much better. Hine Metchele Yesh Lahaktem in Shvishel Pesach. We need to understand the whole concept of Shvi Shel Pesach. Shebein Ikra Yam, with the Yam split. K'mavor B'Pietz Chayim, which is also Gamkin Inyan Leidas in the Shamas. In Arizal it says, Kriyas Yamsuf, the sea split. That means Helem became Gilui. Birth, the fetus is Behelem in the mother, and now becomes Gilui. So he explains the level of Kriyas Yamsuf is the latest of the birth of the Neshamas Yisrael. Cousin, this is what it says. Ubnei Yisrael holchu bi'abosh b'seich hayam. They went in the dry land, teich hayam. What does it mean? V'inyin k'hinei neshamas Yisrael olu b'machshava. The Yidden come from a very lofty, olu b'machshava means a very lofty level of machshava. The entire world is created with dibur. V'yer melikim, v'yer melikim. By neshamas it doesn't say v'yer melikim yehi neshama. That's the level of machshava. And then those neshamas are called achim v'reim l'kadosh baruch Hu, brothers and friends. Meaning, because Elokus is the level of od. Therefore, when these midas come into Atzilus, therefore, you really, Elokus itself is higher than Midas. No Midas in Atma Saints of. You can't even call him a name. A name is an identification. A name is a particular gilui of Elokus. Like we know when the Medrash says, when Moshe Rabbeinu by the burning bush asked Hashem, what's your name? So the Medrash says, Hashem told me, Shmiyat Oretz Leida, you want to know my name? Depends what I'm doing. I do chesed, I'm called Kel. I do punishment, I'm called Elokim. When I do Rachamim, I'm called Yudkei Vavkei. So in other words, when Hashem is identifying with the world, when he's coming into a midah, then he Eloram al Bechinas is Galus. Hashem is infinitely greater. And I'm sorry, I read it wrong. Elorak al Bechinas is Galusai. When Hashem reveals himself in the midas, then you can give him a name. Like he says, Yud Kei Vavkei. Yud is Chachma, he is Bin, and so on. Okay? So he says like this. The 600,000. Shishim Riba Neshamas Yisrael, Nimshcha Shishim Riba Eitzis and Machshava, which come from the 600,000 Eitzis and Machshava, are called Achim LaKadosh Baruch Hu, which are Midas. Okay, then they're called the Midas Ukmei Derech Moshe. Okay, means like this. There are 22 letters of the Alabais, or 27 letters of the Alabais if you count the final letters. Then you have Eisis Aksiva, then you have Eisis Machshav. So in Torah, it says Yisrael is an acronym for Yesh Shishim Riba Eisis LaTorah. The 600,000 letters in the Torah. There's only 305,000. There's the combinations of letters. It says in Kabbalah equals 600,000. But those are Eisis Adibur and Ksiva. But you have the same amount of letters in Machshava. So the Shishim Riba Neshamas Yisrael Olu b'Machshava, they're called, that level is called Achim LaKadosh Baruch Hu, which are the Midas. Kadosh Baruch Hu is where Hashem comes into Midas.
Everybody has, you have to elevate 600,000 people.
Correct. When you reveal seichel in letters, so the letters are one with the seichel. Right? It becomes one with the seichel, you're revealing a certain letter. Then a mechinas elukus mamash to the level of mamash elukus, because Atzilus gamer chalik, it says in Mokamach. So therefore it says like this: the neshamas, the way they are in Atzilus, the way elukus is revealing itself in Atzilus, which is the source of neshamas, over there neshamas and elukus are one. That they're called achim. Achim means equal. No, Atzilus is not Yechidah. But that level of Elokus, Atzilus is only Chaya. There's 4 worlds. The 5th level is higher. So, that level they're called Achim, and therefore, but in order for the Neshama now to come into a body, to be in a level of a Yesh, there's Bechinas Nivra, which is Nifra, Me'ayin Mamish, which is Yesh Me'ayin. Because while it's an Atzilus, is the level of a Lukus Mamash, right? Ki gam ashenikra b'shem eitz is machshava. This that we say in Atzilus, it's the letters machshava. It's only sacher chesed. It's only that we should get it a little bit. Because, but le machshveisem machshveisechem. The machshava of Atzilus is not like our machshava. So it says, how do you get this level? Is they midas malchusei. What makes the neshama of Atzilus bittul come into Bria? That's the level of Malchus, right? Malchus is the lowest level. Malchus receives from the higher level of Atzilus, and then it goes into the Shalshus, right? Then it goes into Bria. So what allows the neshama of Atzilus to become into Bria? The level of Malchus, which is Levush Hamaz La'al Mahasa Shiyuchali is B'chinas Yesh. Like it says, Hashem Moloch Geus Lovish. He puts on the level of greatness, remoteness. So it's Levush. Ki made the Samlucha Levush Ageirim Lias Yes Avis Yesh. Why does Malchus cause that to happen? Because like the expression Ein Melech B'lo Yam. You can't have a king without a nation. Now, what the definition of a nation that says, Einu Nifrodim Dafkem, that definition of a king is only when you have separate entities, that you can have a king that he's over them, but you could have Melech. You could have 100 children, he's not called a king. In other words, like this, the definition of a king means you can't be a king over your own children, because they're an extension of you. Definition of a king means foreigners who subjugate themselves to you. That's the definition of a king. To be a king over yourself is not a king. Your kids are an extension of you. The children are in the place of the father. So where is the Shaykh kingdom? In Malchus. Malchus is Melucha. Ein Melech B'lo Yam. You need foreigners. That's the level of Bria, not Atzilus. Atzilus is all Kedusha.
Now they're jumping from branch to branch.
Good. No, he's not.
Yeah, first of all, dancing and hair and...
Because he's saying to understand this, the Avan Yira of running away or dancing is dependent on the birth of the neshama, right? Now, where do the neshamas come from? Machshava, which is the way it is in Atzilus, right? Then it comes into the world of Bria, which is a yesh, bottle to the ayin, right? Which is the inyan of melech, which is the inyan of an eved. That's the level of yira. In Atzilus, the neshamas are called achim. So therefore, if they feel the king, because in Atzilus, the neshamas are achim l'Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's what he's explaining, Sar and achim. It's the same thing in Atzilus, the neshamas are one with Hashem. When do the neshamas become a yesh? When it becomes an eved. An eved means, by definition, a melech over an eved means the eved is not the king, and he subjugates, he's mevatel himself to the king. That's already bria, bittul hayesh.
That's the difference between yam and ha.
We're not there yet. What's your rush?
First thing, everything is rush.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Where we have to? Okay. Malchus Yam. Therefore, Malchus is called Yam. Why is Malchus called Yam? Because what are you doing? They don't even sit there. What are you doing? Okay. In other words, Malchus is a garment that conceals Atzilus to Bria. A garment conceals. So therefore, Hashem Molech Geros Lavish, where is it shaykh the level of a Luvush? In Malchus. So therefore, Yam is also a covers what's in it. So Malchus, because it's a levush that conceals the level of Atzilus to come into Bria, so therefore Malchus is Yam. Like it says, because like this, everything the Medrash says, the Gemara says, everything in the Yabosh is in the Yam. What's the difference between Yabosh and Yam? Yam is concealed, levush, and Yabosh is open. Okay? So therefore you have like this. Malchus is levush. What allows neshamas of Atzilus to come into Bria, to be a body, eventually to come into a body? That's the level of Malchus. Bekach l'mayla, and the eis is he or yirakia. Hamachayes kolel v'seim ba'Atzilus. Those are the level of Atzilus. Vayam shua Malchus. Mechas aleim bilti yiskalu l'nivroim ha'misavim mehem. That this level of the D-board, in other words, D-board, okay, let's put it this, Malchus is D-board. But Malchus has two parts in it. The way Malchus is a part of Atzilus, and the way Malchus comes into Bria. The way Malchus is in Atzilus is Vayemer Elokim. Okay, now, Hashem revealed the power to create Or, and Or became created. If the people would feel that level of Kedusha of Atzilus, they would be completely bottled. So you wouldn't have a dir v'tachtonim. Right? Yet there has to be a concealment. So therefore the second aspect of Malchus, the way Malchus is the levush and the Yam, that conceals the Gilui of Atzilus, that comes into the world, that the world can handle it. Because it's covered. And the role of the Navei David is to uncover it, to reveal Elokus. But that's the process that Rabbi is explaining. The process is, things of Atzilus, in order to come into Bria, need the level of Yam, Malchus, which is Yam, which is a Levush, Hashem Malach is Lavish, which is the level of a concealment. You don't have enough problem with this? Figure this one out, we'll get into the other one. He says, okay, Vayom Malchus Mechazim Bilti Yizkalim Shimo Yimizkalim Yigashmi Botu Beruchni Yisik Bitul Zereshemish B'mor Atzmi Vein Enir El Yesh El B'mokim She'ein Ha'or Mara. Right? So where does the ray of the sun become a Metzias? When there's no sun, away from the sun. If the Gashmis would feel the Vayomer Elokim that created Yeshmi Ayin, if you have Shilias Gashmis and Mitzava Yibotum Keri, which is Ruchnis Mahava. If you have Shilias Mitzias Nishamo Malach, Shebechinas Nifrodim, Rak Shem Ba'ava. The level of Ava, I mean, I know people love themselves a lot, but Ava means I love something else. That means you're not the person you love. Like the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, Tzadik Gomer Ev Avai Ba'ava B'tanugim is a Yesh Misha'ev. So he says, if the world would completely be bittul, then there wouldn't be Neshamas, there wouldn't be Malachim. Yeah, Neshamas have Ava, Malachim have Ava, Tashem, but that means there's something that has Ava. So they have to be Nefrodim.